All right, hi, it's Chris Petri. Thanks so much for coming by. We're painting oils. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to enjoy this. We're going to create wonderful colors. We're going to show you how to mix all of the colors. We have a beautiful palette of oil paint colors. You're going to learn how to mix all of these colors to create this beautiful painting. We're going to use this as our subject matter, which is a photograph from one of my books. I have a watercolor book out, incidentally. I paint in watercolors as well. So if you're just watching here for oil painting, that's great. But I also do watercolors. If you ever want to check me out on YouTube for watercolor painting, feel free. You just type in Chris Petri watercolor paintings and you'll find all my watercolor paintings. But in any case, we're painting oils here, and we're going to use some watercolor paintings and then just paint those in oils. Perfect way to transfer some beautiful paintings right into oils. We're going to show you all that you need to know about mixing colors. You just saw the palette. You see the painting right here. We're going to show you the brushes you're going to need. We have all the brushes right here. We'll cover each of the brushes, all the brushes you need. We're going to cover the palette knife we use to create some beautiful large areas of color so you can move quickly through your painting using a palette knife. We're going to show you charcoal drawing. Charcoal drawing is basically you're going to take your charcoal stick and then take this photograph of this painting and then transfer it onto this canvas, and we'll show you exactly how to do that. And then we'll show you all the details of how to get the rest of the painting done, the colors, the glazings of oil, and then the final bits of detail, as well as how to get the reflections in the water. All of that is all covered here on this video, so stay tuned. We'll be right back, and we'll cover everything step by step as we go, okay? All right, we'll start in just a second. All right, so we're going to get started here. You just saw the finished painting, and I like to always put the finished painting, the oil painting, up first on my first 1 or 2 minutes of my video, just so you can see what it looks like. It gives you an idea of maybe, do you want to paint this or try it out, see how it works out. I'm sure you're going to do fine. We're just having so much fun with oil painting. That's the main thing, having fun with oil painting. We're not stressing too much. You're just going at your own pace. We're all going at our own pace. That's all it is. As an artist, we're all going at our own pace, learning, practicing, trying out different colors, different drawing skills. We're practicing our drawing. We're practicing our painting. We're looking at videos. We're watching videos. We're looking at books that have paintings. We're going online, researching paintings online on Google and all these great places. There's books on eBay that are used books that we can get for inexpensive. There's new books you can buy on Amazon that are pristine condition and are the cutting edge of the newest talents in painting. So you just you're getting into everything as you go in your oil painting journey. We're just doing the same thing here. We're trying to just improve our skills on an ongoing basis. And it doesn't matter if you have time to work 2 hours a day, or maybe you only have enough time to work a few hours a week. It's up to you. It's fine. Whatever you can do, whatever time you can put into your artwork is going to be perfect. It's good for you. So don't feel like you have to put in 4 hours a day. If you put in a half an hour a day, it's great for you. Whatever works for you, you just work at your own pace. Don't ever feel like you have to be working, hours and hours every day or something like that to make improvements. You'll always make improvements as long as you're working a little bit at it. Even every day, if you just did a couple sketches in pencil on some paper to practice your drawing skills, even 15 or 20 minutes every day, that's a great thing. I was practicing that, for years now, because I just know that each day I practice a little bit, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes a day on my drawing, then I just know my skills are going to get better and better and better. And it's the same thing with, you can just, whenever you have 10 or 15 minutes, you can do a couple quick drawings of an apple, an orange, a pen, a pencil, a cup, a mug, a flower, anything you want to. So have fun, practice at your own pace. Don't worry about it. But we're going to I'm going to cover all the things we're going to need to do to get to our finished painting, which is right here in picture format, which I did clip out from my book. And I'll put my book in the description box below, as well as all my art supplies and materials. They're all in the description box below, and I vouch for them. I know they all work well. I'm not going to put anything down below in my description box. You might have to click the word more to see more information, and you'll see all the links to Amazon Incidentally, I basically shop on Amazon all the time. I don't know if everyone shops on Amazon, but it's so convenient. You basically shop there and it gets delivered, and you don't have to go out and waste time and money on gasoline and fighting traffic and all these other things. That's why Amazon was actually created, and the whole idea behind Amazon is basically so that everyone can get things done efficiently when they're purchasing products, and they don't have to waste time, energy, money, fuel, all of these things. You can just alleviate the whole situation by Amazon will come and deliver to your home within a few days, and you have what you need. I'm a big advocate of Amazon. Anyway, some of you may not be so happy with that, but all I can say is I use Amazon all the time, and that's where all the links are down below. And this way you can be painting and drawing in oils and making a lot of progress instead of driving around for hours trying to find things. So for me, it makes total sense. I always shop on Amazon. It saves me a ton of time. When I was younger, I used to have to go out and buy something, and it would take me 6 hours just to buy one item, like a tie or a shirt or something like that, and that makes no sense to me anymore. But anyway, let's get back to oil painting. I'm sorry if I'm going off on a tangent here. So anyway, let's get back to it. We did prime our canvas, so I have a video on that. You can look that up on my channel. You just type in Chris Petri oil paintings and priming a canvas, and I'll show you how you mix a little bit of burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, and a little bit of white. You mix those three paints together, and then you put that onto a canvas and let that dry for about 3 or 4 days, and then you have a nice medium tone on your canvas like we have here. This is a soft canvas with a wood frame. I also use those hardboard canvases in oil, which I'm sure you know about, and those are also available and down below in the description box. So let's get started with our painting. The first thing I just did want to mention is, so that we don't sort of gloss over this, because this is important, let's not gloss over important details. We have a charcoal. This is made by General's charcoal. What I did is I just basically did my sketch with the charcoal. The main thing I wanted to kind of impress upon everyone is when you're making your shoreline for your water, and then your buildings and your shore and your this part of your composition above here, we just don't want to put it halfway. Can you see how that's halfway right there with my charcoal? The best way, and I'll just be honest with you, I've been in many galleries, and I've heard numerous times from art purveyors that are purchasing paintings and purchasing artwork. I've heard them on numerous times walk up to a painting and look at the painting and go, I wish they had put the horizon line lower or higher in this painting. That would have looked so much better. I've heard that numerous times. So all I can say is it's not terrible to put your horizon line, your shoreline, right down the middle of your painting like this. But most times, most experts in art will always say that it looks a little better if you can drop your shoreline, your horizon line of your field. Let's say you're making a field with mountains if you're doing a landscape, or if you're doing like we're doing here and creating this. We're creating this seascape with a city scene above, cityscape. It looks either better if you can drop your horizon line below the halfway point or a little bit above the halfway point. And what that essentially means is you'll either want to see quite a bit more sky in the painting, or quite a bit more water or land in the painting, versus splitting the painting right in half. Hope that helps with your compositions. I think you'll, after we've just talked about this for this few minutes or so, you'll probably have made a note already on some note paper, or mentally you've made a note and said, okay, I think that's smart, and I think Chris is, kind of telling the truth here. He's not trying to make me, aware of something that I'm not going to need to use. This is something, you definitely want to always consider that. But sometimes you will make your painting halfway in certain situations. But give it a second thought when you do that. And, okay, so that's what we did here. We made sure that we didn't go halfway with our shoreline. We went down about a third of the way up. So this is a third, this is a third, and this is a third. So we used the thirds rule of 1/3, 2/3. So either 1/3 shoreline here or 1/3 shoreline up here. And we were thinking to ourselves, if we want to get this whole city scene in here with this beautiful building, the spires, the domes, the conical roofs, all this good information, we'll want to make the shoreline lower here so we can get more of our buildings and things in here, and our sailboats and our masts and things like that of our boats. And then the water reflections are down here. They're like, the last bottom third. So I think that'll look beautiful. That's how I created it the first time when I did it in watercolor. Let's kind of replicate the same thing. I think it looks fine. It works well. So I just did this pencil, the charcoal sketch here. I just carefully looked at here. Okay, I start to create my drawing, and then I start to say, how far do I want to make my reflections down below into the water? And then I just use the basic, you could take your charcoal, hold it there, put your finger down where the shoreline is, and slide it on down. And that means that you can see where my finger is at the bottom of the painting. That means that this point here, up here, where the point of the spire is, it's right down here. So that means that this is going to be right down here at the bottom. And then we come over here and we say, all right, this is off the painting down here. So we just take this and say, well, let's make our lines anyway. We'll come down here and make our lines here. And this here, the edge of this wall here, that goes up to the roof there. If we go down there, we have it there. Then we say, okay, how far is the top of this roof? Where does the top of this roof here on this structure, where does that fall into the reflections in the water below? We could just take our charcoal simply and say, okay, we'll put our finger right where the shoreline is, and then we slide it down and say, that's the same spot that top of that roof needs to be down in the water, and that's right here where my pointer finger is. You can see that? I know you can see that, and that's where I made my line right there. And that means the sky color up here needs to be down in the water at this point down here, and that's really important. That's a key importance of the painting, is to make sure that our reflections of our structures above here are reflecting down in the water correctly, and then we're also seeing the reflections of the sky correctly. And I will peel off this tape when I'm done with the painting and put the paint and mix and blend the paint in there, but I have to have the tape on my, forgive me, but I have to have my tape on my canvas here so that it doesn't slide around and move around. So we have to leave that on there for right now, but we will move that away later. And then, okay, so now we're going down here. Then we have our boats, our masts of our boats here. And we could take this and say, okay, the masts of the boats up here, they're up here. We already sketched them in, and now we want to know where are those masts going to be below the horizon line of the shoreline. So we just take that and say that's the top there. I put the pencil or the charcoal at the top of the masts up here, let's say, like up there. Then I put my pointer finger down here, and then I just take and move it down this way and go, okay, wow, okay. It's right down almost to the bottom of the canvas. And then we know where we have to put the rest of our masts of our boats. And that's pretty much it. So that's the charcoal drawing. And again, you can sort of see how I did this. This spire and roof here is not quite halfway. That's about halfway right now, right there across the whole painting here. And if you were to go across here, halfway is about there. So you can see that this is a little bit left. This spire here is left of half by a little bit. Here it's a little more. Halfway on this canvas is about here. So I snuck this over a little bit to the left. But you can see it's off center. It's not directly in the center of the painting. So I wanted to keep this a little bit off center. And I did the same thing here, a little bit off center that way. And that's all you really have to remember as far as layout of your design of your painting. You kind of want to avoid dividing things in half, your paper. You don't want to put this structure, this large structure here with the spires and the roof, the conical roof and everything like this, we don't really want to put that halfway in between the painting. We'd rather slide it over a little bit like that so that it looks a little bit off center. That's all I'm saying. And the same thing with the vertical shoreline. The shoreline, we don't want to go exactly center across the painting. We want to drop it down a little bit. Or you could, if you didn't have these tall buildings, you could make your waterline higher. But since we have these tall buildings, we'd rather set everything down and bring the waterline down lower so that we can get more of the beautiful structures and city scenes and cityscape across this painting in the painting itself. Highlight that. All right, so we actually have made a lot of progress so far as laying out of the painting, doing our charcoal drawing, getting our reflections really accurate so that we're not sort of making things way off of what would be considered realistic, somewhat realistic. But you can see we're not going to paint this like we're trying to create a photograph. We're just going to have fun and use lots of colors, and we're going to kind of do this in more of a, a loose fashion. We're not going to try to create tremendous accuracy, but certain things we do want to keep accurate. So that's why I say we want to get the accuracy of the reflections in the water. We want to get the accuracy of having the shoreline not dead center across the center of the painting, but down lower so that we have a larger sky, which can fit in our buildings. So these are things you just want to consider. That's all I'm saying. You might watch this video 2 or 3 different times, and then it'll just make you more familiar with the way we kind of design our paintings as we go in oil paintings. But that's kind of what we want to do. And then now that we've got our painting all set up as far as our design, with our charcoal drawing, our charcoal sketch, a layout of what we're going to do with the paints, now we're just ready to start mixing paint, getting some paint on our canvas, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing that. So I'm hoping you're going to give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I'm hoping you're going to subscribe too on the right-hand side below. If you like this video and you think you're getting a lot from it and you want to learn more, then that just lets me know that I'm doing the, things that you are interested in learning about with oil painting, or you can leave a comment and say, Chris, I need you to cover more of this or that. Leave lots of comments. I'm always interested in hearing what you are thinking out there, what you want to see more of. Maybe I'm doing too many buildings and too many seascapes, and you want to see more flowers and paint and maybe some more wine bottles and things like this. So you let me know what your favorite subject matter is. Let me know how you like so far the amount of detail I'm putting into this, and then we'll go from there. But again, I'm here to work with you to help you get better, and I'm working all the time to get better myself with oil painting and progressing. I want to always progress in my art, my watercolors, my oil paintings. So together we're going to get better. And let's come back. We'll mix some paints and we'll start painting. Okay? All right. Be right back. All right, we're getting back started again. Let's start mixing our paint to get this wonderful oil painting started. So the first thing I want to do is take some white paint, and I'll just mix that out here a little bit onto the wax paper. This is basically wax paper. And again, this is below in the, if you need to research some art supplies, what I'm using Strathmore palette paper. It's called Strathmore palette paper. It's got a yellow cover on it, and it's really wonderful. You can just mix out all your oil paints, and then when you're done, you just tear off the sheet, throw it out, and you start with a new sheet the next time you create a new painting. Simple as that. All right, so now we're going to take some of that titanium white. So we mentioned we did put out our colors. I'll kind of just go over the colors one more time so we kind of are familiar. We have the alizarin crimson, and again, these are the Winsor & Newton Artisan line of paints, which are water mixable oil colors. And again, I always mention on my channel here, I want everyone to use water mixable oil paints. The reason why is there's no toxic chemicals. There's no paint thinners and turpentines, which can be flammable and dangerous for your studio, for your home. These mix up with, these actually clean up with soap and water. So if you get this Winsor & Newton Artisan water mixable oil colors on your hands, your shirt, whatever, it's going to come out with water. So you can throw your shirts and your pants in the laundry. It's going to come out. You can wash your hands with soap and water, and this paint comes right off quickly with soap and water. You can mix your paints. You're just going to mix your paints with water. So whenever you're going to thin down your paint with a little bit of water, that's fine. You can clean. You're going to be cleaning your brushes with a bucket of, a container of water like this here, container of water, and that's it. There's no turpentines, paint thinners, oils, things like that. If you get a little bit of this on your furniture, on your carpet, anything like that, it washes up again with soap and water. So this is the most friendly oil painting method you can use, or the most friendly oil paint you can use. That's not going to be dangerous. It's going to clean up easy. It'll wash right off your hands, off your clothes, off anything. You might get some on your hands and then touch something like on the couch or anything like that. It's not going to harm your belongings and your furniture and your clothes and things like this. So that's why, and it's non-toxic too. So this is really the paint you want to use if you're working in oil painting. If you're really painting maybe 5 years, 10 years in oil painting, yeah, you're probably going to start researching really high quality stuff that's more, you're probably going to eventually get into like more of the finer points of watercolor where you're going to use finer materials. You might use a little paint thinner, but for what we're doing here on my channel, we're just going to stick with water mixable oil color, which is just simple for everyone. We can all use it, and we don't have to worry about any kind of ramifications of using it. So the colors, again, I bought the full set here. You can kind of see this. This is the Winsor Newton full set of Winsor Newton Artisan water mixable oil colors. Again, I have this down in the dial, the comments box below. I have all the links to all of my art supplies, so if you need to know. But you can just type into Google or search Winsor Newton Artisan paints. You'll find these. So I just have the full set. It's like 12 colors. And they're all here. I put them all out on my palette. So this is the alizarin crimson, cadmium red, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow lemon, cerulean blue. We have phthalo green, which is beautiful. That's like that gorgeous, it's like a cool green, like that's like ocean water. It's just that's one of my favorite greens. Turquoise. It kind of looks like turquoise a little bit between these. Well, this looks like turquoise to me with a little bit of this mixed together, but this is just a beautiful green. French ultramarine blue, one of my favorite blues. Burnt umber, what a beautiful earth tone. Burnt umber we use all the time for earth colors. We use it to tone down our blues, to gray down our blues a little bit. So, wow. These are just great basic colors you're going to always use in oil painting. And they have them all in that one set with the Winsor & Newton. And then, of course, we have our titanium white, which is what we use to lighten up our colors, to make them lighter in value, tonal value. So if we want to make a lighter blue sky, we're going to use some of the white, and then add our blue to it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add some French ultramarine blue to our sky color, as well as some cerulean blue, like this. Maybe a little bit of burnt umber too, to gray it down a little bit. We don't want to make it incredibly high intensity blue. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to mix up a sky color that we think is going to match what we have here. I don't know, maybe we're going to add a little bit of yellow ochre. We'll try some of that in this. A little more white. Maybe more white. We'll keep adding more white. Maybe we'll use all of the white. You might come up with colors, different colors when you're doing paintings that are other than what you've set out to do. And I'm saying go with the flow. Sometimes you might create some beautiful colors when you're creating some mixes of color that you're using. You might find incredible mixes of colors. Okay, so you see that I've mixed that blue. You can always take it and hold it up to the paper and say, does that look pretty much close to what I'm looking for? And you might say, yeah, wow, yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty close. That is pretty close to what that looks like, right? Like that's pretty close in color and tone. And that's when you just go right down onto your palette, onto your paper, I should say your canvas, and get that on there. And we are having fun. That's the main thing. You want to have fun with your oil paintings. You want to enjoy it. You're getting on some gorgeous, beautiful colors. They're thick. They're nice and oily, and they're just great. And you just get them onto the canvas with your palette knife, like this. And you can kind of see how a palette knife works really well because you can use it as it's like a straight edge, like a ruler. You can get some beautiful right angles like that. There we go. And you can you can touch up with your brush eventually. Once we get further along in our painting, we're going to use the brushes. So that's one thing for sure. We're going to use brushes. But right now we're just going to use our palette knife to block in the large color passages in this oil painting first. And again, you're having fun with this. You're enjoying this. This is something that you're feasting upon the colors, the fun of applying this paint with a palette knife. You're going to get into some brushes next. And it's fun to work with. It's oil. It's kind of nice and fun to work with. You have plenty of time to work. You don't have to stress over, oh my God, is it going to dry in 30 seconds? No. So if you've been working in watercolors for some time, you'll notice that oil paintings give you a lot of versatility as far as your time is concerned. You can wait 2 hours or a day and come back, leave it right here like it is now, walk away for a day, come back in a day, and you can just start painting again just like this. You can't do that with watercolor. You can't do that with acrylic painting. So I think oil paintings the oil medium is excellent and really worth putting some time into to learn, along with watercolors, because I know myself, I'm always going to be a watercolor artist at heart and stick with that 100%, but I am going to, again, I mentioned I am going to start working in oils a lot too, so I'm going to devote my time to oils and watercolors because they're both incredible mediums to work in, and I'll convince you of that as we go. So we worked intelligently to get this color. A nice, beautiful sky blue. And you don't have to worry about any marks that you might leave with your palette knife. That's fine. That looks good. That's another great thing about oil painting is it looks good when you're making all kinds of different marks on your paper with the oils. With your palette knife, then we'll go in and we'll use our brush. One thing with the palette knife that's really incredible is you get beautiful straight lines. Incredibly concise straight lines. So if you're doing anything with architecture, buildings, houses, anything that you can think of that has straight lines, you're going to have a really wonderful time creating those effects with your palette knife. Okay, so now let's work right on down before we take a break. Let's work down in this section here, and we notice that the sky is reflecting right down into the water like this. just like this. And you might see me leave a little bit of the canvas showing like this. I just want to keep my horizon line straight. So I'll leave a little bit of canvas there showing. And then I can peel off this tape just a second here. I'll leave the tape on actually. I don't have to worry about that. I'll leave that tape right where it is. And I'll just keep going right here, and we're going to finish up here. And look at that, we're getting the sky reflections right down in the water. So I'm just looking up here and saying, okay, there it is. And then down here, there it is. And you can kind of see how that's pretty much straight right down, like that. So that's the sky down here. And you're always refining and redrawing things with your paint. So if you can just imagine, when you're creating your oil paintings, you don't have to worry too much, because you can always add more paint and paint over sections or areas to get more of the detail that you think you might need as you go. And then here I'll just pick up the rest of my paint that I was using, and I say to myself, well, there might be a little bit of sky sparkles of color here and there, maybe a couple sparkles of color. Like this here and there. So I'll put a little bit of sparkles of this paint like that, just to kind of feel like we can take that sky color and kind of blend it into the rest of the painting in areas that aren't necessarily the sky. But we have some of that sky color bouncing around and creating a few little bits of interest. Okay, perfect. We're halfway there. We're halfway completed with this painting, and that's the fun of it. With oil painting, you can definitely move quickly. It definitely is a fast application process with oils. You can get a lot done quickly. Okay, so there we go. We used our palette knife. We got down a lot of paint onto the paper. You can use your palette knife in conjunction with any of your brushes, any of your oil painting brushes. Don't feel like you have to use the palette brush all the time. I mean, you have to use the palette knife all the time. Get some of your colors maybe up here with your palette knife, and then you can maybe use some of your oil painting brushes to get some of those colors in and around those different areas down here if you don't feel comfortable with using the palette knife. I'm very comfortable using the palette knife at this point, but if you want to use the brush a little more for this part of your painting, when you want to get your sky colors a little more accurate around the buildings, the shapes and everything like that, feel free, do that. Don't feel like you have to use the palette knife the whole way through. I'm doing what's comfortable for me, but if you want to use the brush a little more, that's fine. Then once I'm done with my palette knife, I just take it, I put a paper towel or a tissue, and I just take the paint off of it, and I set it aside, and that's ready for our next time we're going to use it. Other than that, we're ready to start working in with our paintbrushes and get our darks in here, which is our buildings and the reflections down into the water. And I know you're not going to want to miss that, because we're having fun, and we're going to really have some exciting colors mixed up next. So this is just the simple color mix that we use for the blue sky and the water. Wait till you see all the cool colors we're going to mix up for this. We're going to have a lot of fun doing that. All right, so we'll be right back. All right, so we're getting started again, and what I think I wanted to do right now is, it's kind of important. I want to mix a little bit more. I used all of this sky wash that we did blend down into the water. Basically, our water is reflecting, our sky is reflecting down into our water. So we made our sky wash, basically our sky glazing, down into our water. So I did use all of that here. So what I'd like to do is try to see if I can mix up a little more of this color by using the same colors we used before, just so we have some more of the same exact mix, as close as we can get at the same glazing as we did before. So I'll take some of the titanium white, and I have okay, so we have some more titanium white there. I bought a couple of really very large tubes of titanium white, the Winsor & Newton Artisan titanium white, because we do go through a lot of white, titanium white, when we're working in oil painting. So if you're joining along with this and you think you're going to be painting with us for a while, try as best you can, if it's at all possible, to try to pick up some extra large tubes. I don't have one right here next to me because they're across the other way, across the studio. But I'm almost done with this one here. So this one's almost depleted, this titanium white that I have with my set, that it came with the set. But I just know that we're gonna use a lot of white. So if you can get a couple of extra really super large tubes of Artisan, Winsor & Newton Artisan paint, it'll be good, because you're going to need a lot of white. I'll put a little more of the cerulean blue here because we did use some of that. And let's see, now we use lots of white, so we're going to pick up some more white. Now here we don't have to mix up a tremendous amount. We're just going to need a little bit to mix in here as we're doing our buildings and our reflections. So I don't want to go overboard and use too much. So I'll use a fair amount, and then we use some cerulean. We use cerulean. We used a touch of burnt umber too, to just gray it down a little bit, like that. We used a little bit of ultramarine blue. We used a touch of phthalo green too, as well. Phthalo green is extremely strong, so I would be very careful putting that into the mix. I'd use only a very tiny amount of that. And then some more of the cerulean blue. A little bit more of the brown to gray down a little bit. Alright, so we're pretty close to what we had before. Right? That's pretty close. If you can see that, you can see that. We did mix a pretty close mix to what we had before. It's a little more green, so I think I could get a little more phthalo in there maybe. And a little more brown, I think. A little more earth tones to gray it down a little bit. And a little more white. Sometimes you have to use a little more paint than you'd like. So you might have to, sacrifice a little bit of paint to get the right color and tone when you're painting. And I know that's kind of difficult sometimes. I don't like to do it myself because I don't want to waste any paint, but sometimes in the mixing process the paint does get gets wasted a little bit, but you can see I mixed it pretty good there. That's almost the same exact color, almost perfectly to the color of the sky and the water. Maybe we'll just do a little test here. There we go. See, we have it right here. Let's just do a test. There it is. Now what we'll do is we'll scrape off a little bit off the painting and see how close it is. And as you can see, it's really almost exact. So we are in great shape. Now we have our highlight colors if we need to as we work through the buildings and the reflections. We want to add that sky wash and that sky color into the buildings and the reflections, because that'll just tie everything together into one harmonious composition. What we don't want to do is paint the sky and water one color and then start painting our buildings and our reflections a totally different color. So we want to basically, we want to make sure we have lots of the sky color blending all the way through the whole entire painting. All right, so let's grab our paintbrushes now. You can make a decision for yourself and say, well, what brushes am I going to use to create the rest of the painting? I would say, since these buildings are kind of, there's a lot of angles to them and square edges, I would probably use a flat brush. So I'm going to use this flat brush right here, which is a number 1. And I think that might be good enough. And then also let's use the number 4. So the number 1 and 4, and you can kind of see them here. A number 4 and number 1, Rhenish Filbert. These are natural hog hair brushes. That's what we're going to do the rest of the painting with. And I think that's all we need. We just need these 2 brushes to complete the painting. So now what we'll do is, and you can mix your paints incidentally if you want to, using your palette knife. You can mix your colors using the palette knife and then start using your brushes to apply your oil paints. It might save on your brushes a little bit so that you're not like really working your brushes too hard. Your brushes will kind of fare better if you're mixing the colors with your palette knife first and then you use your brushes to paint. So what colors are we seeing here? We're really free to do whatever we want to really at this point. I definitely know I'm going to want to use the burnt umber, because that's like a earth color, which is like nice. Buildings are earth tones usually. I'll mix in some of those earth tones with the sky color too. Okay, you can leave that marbled. You don't have to. We totally homogenized the oil paint colors for the sky and the water, but for now you can see here, let's get more of a, we're not trying to create a unified, really one sort of unified color. We're going to mix lots of colors in these buildings and the reflections. So I'm using the brown with the color that we mixed for the sky. And I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to mix it and mix it and mix it. I'm just going to leave it just like that. Then let's use some blue. We're going to have some French ultramarine blue, like that. We have some reds and oranges. So let's start just taking some of the colors that we have here. The yellows, the golds. There's some reds. Okay, so we see some reds in here, oranges. If you need to add a little bit of more orange or red or whatever you have. I think I saw a tube of paint fly off my table. I don't see it now, so I have to go find that later. But I'm not going to worry about it. Lemon yellow. Okay, so we have just a whole conglomeration of colors here. Let's go with that. Okay. I'll take my palette knife, use a tissue or a paper towel, clean off my palette knife. And let's get with our brushes here. I'll use the larger brush first, the number 4. So you can see the number 4 here. French ultramarine blue, red, all the colors, cerulean blue. Let's just start getting in the colors here. Okay, what I'm going to do is take that first bit of colors that I just grabbed here, which is essentially the reds, which is alizarin crimson, cadmium red. There was some yellow ochre in there too, and then I used my lemon yellow and my cadmium yellow and also cerulean blue and French ultramarine blue. So I'm using all of the pretty much darker blues and the reds and just conglomerating all the colors, and then I'm just going to start putting them in here to get the overall dark of the, or you know, pretty much it's a dark value here, I would say. You can kind of see already now that we're looking like it's a little bit of a dark, right? A dark there. It's not quite black or really super dark on the tonal value scale, but it is getting there. And then what we do is let's fill this all in and just get this in. Okay. And I just go in and pick up more of that paint. We're having fun again. Have fun. Have an enjoyable time. See, I did the red there. And then I just kind of mix that around. Add some of the red. So it's kind of looking like basically almost like a purple, blue, and red. And like I said, have fun with the colors, the mixes of the glazings that you're making with your oils. You'll be excited. Get excited. I think the most important thing, if I can share anything with you that's going to really get you excited and really juiced about doing oil painting, is really get into the colors, get into the color mixes. You know, you can create your own fantasy colors or colors that you just enjoy yourself. You might say, oh my gosh, I really like that blue. It's kind of like a grayish blue green. I really like this a lot. I'm like tremendously stoked about this bluish green gray that I created for the sky and the water. And now I'm really happy with this purplish blue red for the buildings. And so right now, again, I'm feeling good. I'm having a great time of it. And that's what oil painting is all about. Or even if you're painting in watercolors, whatever it is, whatever medium you like to paint in. Maybe you paint in acrylics and now you're trying to try some oil paintings, or watercolors and you're trying some oils out. It's so much fun when you can really just mix colors and find colors you really enjoy that kind of make you feel like, yeah, that's a color I really like to see. I'm really like, it's looking good on the canvas here, and it's blending well and looking good with everything else, and that's what we want to do. We want to just have the colors look really nice, and you can go and take your oil paintings to a more abstract fashion, or you can get more realistic. It's up to you. I really enjoy realistic painting as well as abstract painting. So right now I think this is looking like it's kind of like in between abstract and realism. You know, I'm sort of touching upon both of those aspects of art, where I'm not trying to create an exact replica of a photograph I'm working from. I'm actually working from a watercolor painting that I created, and then I'm going to take it and try to put it onto an oil format and see how it looks. And I'm, again, pretty much enjoying the colors of everything a lot. This is really fun. All right, so you see how we have that. Now, I'm going to need more colors. Well, first thing I'm going to do is use some of the blue, sky color, and the brown and white. And I'm going to try to start getting my shoreline in here, like this, across. Like that. And I think I might just go with this. I might just kind of like, I'm not going to maybe make it as colorful as this, with all of the mixes of colors, But I'm going to use the sky colors that we have and the earth tones and see if I can get something that I think is good from this point. So now I'm just going to start to, I see I'm going to have to make this spire down here, and I don't have that right now. This is going to be below the painting. So, and I need to add a little bit of color here. So you'll fix up things as we go. So let's just talk about this. Let's talk this through as we go. Okay. I'll get a few of these masts in where the boats are. And then the reflections of the masts. Maybe I'll rinse my brush off. I'll grab a paper towel. So I'm rinsing off my brush in water. That's all I'm using is water. No paint thinners, no turpentines, no oils, no whatever oils, oil paintings. A lot of times you hear people talk about walnut oil, different oils. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about any oils, any paint thinners, any turpentines. Just stick with water and water mixable oil paint like we're using. I rinse off my brush after I rinse it good in the water, and now we'll go back in and we'll get some darks. So we'll pick up some of these dark bits here. And we want to get some of those darks. Maybe we can try to see if we can get, yeah, perfect. Like that, and then the reflections down in the water. There we go. Okay. Wipe off the paint. Okay. So we have some of those masts of these boats here, fishing boats and sailboats. And then I think we're really getting close to being finished here. I mean, we could add more. Let's take our paints, maybe. Let's get some cadmium red here. All right, let's see if we can add a little more color to things. Cadmium red. Alizarin crimson. So we'll just add our warm colors, yellow ochre, cadmium lemon yellow. All right, I think my cadmium yellow sailed off my art table and went somewhere, and I don't know where it is. That's all right. So now maybe we'll take some of these. Cadmium yellow, lemon, yellow ochre, a little bit of cadmium red. Alizarin crimson. So now you have all these beautiful warm colors, the warm reds. Try to blend down into the water the same colors you're using up above. We put them down here like that, so reflect everything down. I rinse off my brush now. I rinse it off really well in the water bucket. Dry it off. Maybe some more yellow ochre, so we have some yellow and golds in there. All right, now since this is water we're thinking of, eventually we're gonna take some of this paint and blend it to make it look like reflections. We'll talk about that in a second. So now we want to do some more French ultramarine blue and burnt umber to get a darks. Again, we're going to that's French ultramarine blue, and then we're going to take some burnt umber. And again, sometimes you're going to have to do this as you're painting. You have to squeeze out a little more paint as you're painting. And I think this is a good way to go versus just squeezing out way too much paint and then you have all this waste. So I know you want to try to conserve your colors and not go overboard with like wasting too much paint. And I'm the same way too. I don't like to waste paint because it costs a little bit of money. We're trying to conserve a little bit on how much we're going to be spending on our art supplies. So now we've made a darker dark with the ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna. And now we're going to try to get in a nice dark there. That looks good, yeah. Make that spire. Like that. Okay, there we go, yep. And over here, same thing. Then we're going to have to come down here and do the same thing. We'll take this spire here and go right down here and just get that in there. Like that. Maybe a little bit of dark there, up here. A little bit of dark there. Kind of just mirror that down. Like that. I think that's fine. So I rinse off one more time, rinse off the brush. Do a little bit of, I pull it down a little bit like this just to blend in the paint a little bit. And I just blend this up a little bit. Now what I do is I just empty my water container. So at this point, once in a while, you need to we'll empty our water container and pour out some fresh, clean water. Especially with oil painting, you're going to need to empty your water container here and there. All right, so let's do this. Now that we're at a little bit of a breaking point, or a break point where we emptied our water, poured in some fresh, clean water, we just cleaned off our brush. I'm going to grab some new paper towels. Here I got some brand new paper towels. Look how good my brush is here. No paint on there, so we can get some fresh paint to finish up here. But I think we're almost there. We almost have we'll get some more of that dark there. We want to make sure, see how we do that? Once you rinse off your brush and get some fresh dark paint, you can put that right on top. And like that. And also too, you can get yourself a little bit of a sharp, take your brush and just some of those sails and masts. There we go. All right, you're going to really see how it comes all together now in a few minutes. You can touch up your sky washes a little bit. You can always use your brush to blend in some paint in your sky, your water. But I think now all we have left is to just really finish up the reflections. So let's take a break. We've cleaned our brushes, we've changed our water out, so we have fresh, clean water. And then we're just going to do a little bit of a quick blending of the colors in the water for the reflections to make it look like it's got that feel of water in it. And you'll see how we do it. It's really fun. It's just a two-step process. So we're going to cover the two-step process on how to create those reflections in the water that look really perfect, that are going to give your painting that realistic look of water in the bottom of your painting where you have the reflections in the water. And I think that's all you'll need. And this will be a completed painting. So let's take a quick break and we'll come right back and finish up. All right, we're finishing up, and it's really fun to get to that final stage of your painting when you're starting to just do the final details. It feels great. You've accomplished the majority of your painting. You know everything went pretty well for the most part. If your painting didn't come out well, when you create, if you're painting along with us here and your painting didn't come out like where you're happy with it, that's okay. You're just going to start another one in a day or two. Maybe you're going to start something different. Try maybe a different painting. Sometimes it's not always the best thing to try doing another painting, the same exact painting. You might want to try something different and then come back to this one again if this one didn't turn out great for you. But I think this one should come out fine, actually. It's not, tremendously complex here. So let's just finish up and see what we can come up with here. So I'll take some of the sky color with a very small, I'm going to use the small number 1 flat brush, which is the hog hair brush, which is the natural hair bristle hog hair brush, number 1 flat brush. And I just want to get some highlights here with the windows. So I'm going to try to put in a few windows here. And I'll pick up some of this sky color. I'll just do that. I'm going to add a few like this. A few windows like that. And then another couple over here. Okay. Like this. Then what I'll do is I'll take these same windows and come down here and just try to replicate what you see down here. For the most part, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just going to take the same idea of looking here and saying, okay, this here is the same distance here, there, and then I kind of go there. Trust me, I've been painting for 20 years, so this is, you can always take your time more and maybe measure with a ruler. You can always take like a small ruler, like a half ruler. You could take a half ruler and then put some windows on here like this. And then say, okay, where do I got to go with those? Well, you're going to go from here down to the shoreline, and you're going to go the same distance. So you might say, oh, that's a half an inch. Half an inch to the shoreline, and then a half an inch out to where the water is. Half inch here, half inch here. So half inch from this window, which is the reflection of the sky color, the light, half inch down to there, and then another half inch over here. Maybe I went a little too far there, but we're going to do some reflections down here. So we just want to get the basic idea of some reflections down here in the water. Same thing here. I'm just going to add a few there. Like that. So I hope that's kind of helpful for you, that you're just going to try to mirror that same dimension. So if you have half an inch from here to the water line, well then now you're going to have to go a half inch from the water line to that highlight there. So 1/2, 1/2, 1 inch, 1 inch. So you're just basically going the same amount of distance from here to here, from here to here. Or thereabouts, pretty close. Then what we do is let's grab our flat brush again. Now what we'll do is we'll take our flat brush, which is a number 4 flat brush, and what we're going to want to do is just gently glide over this here, like this, and then come back the other way, like this. And then this way. So it's just a matter of going back and forth, little bit by little, like that. And also too, a little bit of a vertical, like this. So if you just do a little bit of a horizontal, light touch, just going across, just barely touching the canvas, and then a little bit barely touching the canvas going vertical, like this, that gives you the reflection. And then you can also, if you really want to kick it up a notch, you could take it and just take your palette knife and just do a couple lines across like this. Just like that. Just a couple lines across like that. You don't have to put anything on your palette knife other than just clean your palette knife off and just do a couple little horizontal strokes across this here. Movements across it like that. Can you see that? How good that looks? Then another thing we can do is take a little bit of that sky color with our palette knife. Just get a tiny bit on our palette knife. And then just do little touches of light going across here. Like that. You can also take some darks with your palette knife. Get some darks on there and do a couple darks within the same idea. Here and there, hit and miss though. You don't want to cover up over that light that you just put in there. You just want to add a few darks in there. Maybe even a couple of darks like that. Then we can take this and maybe a couple more darks. And again, we don't want to overwork it. That's one of the keys. Have fun with this and don't overwork it. Already I'm starting to feel like I'm maybe getting into that point where I'm going to overwork it. I'll get some more of that light color of the sky. And just I want to put in a few of those windows that I just kind of like covered over by accident. I just did a little too much fussing around. Okay. The only thing I can see us having a little more to do here is maybe a little bit of the darks with the flat brush number 1. So I kind of make my brush, I keep moving my brush really through the paint to get like a flat edge on the brush, a nice flat edge like this, like that. And then maybe I just get a little bit of a little more of a point here on this. That. And maybe a few more. You can just get some really good darks, load up the brush with some good amount of paint, and you can get a few little darks in here like this, and maybe a few up here. Just add some details to it. And there you have it. You see how we've basically created the same painting. We did it a little bit different. We added some windows. You could add even a few more windows in if you wanted to. Take some of that sky color again. Just pick up the sky color. We made tons of that sky color, even though we said we want to be somewhat conservative. We don't want to waste too much paint, but we did want to create that bit of sky color, extra sky color, so that when we did our second glazing over the top of our sky and building, that we had some of this left. So then we can do some more Maybe a few just little dots here and there of light on the windows there at the top of the building. And we can do those same dots here just to... And what I'll do is I'll lift off, just so I just want to show you how I do it at this point. I lift off the tape carefully. See, I have to tape this down when we do the video so that my canvas doesn't move all over the place. But you'll see how with oil painting it's so much fun. You don't have to worry about that when you tape down your canvas, and you will want to tape down your canvas when you're working. You do not want to work with a hardboard canvas or a canvas like this where you have the soft canvas over the top of the wood frame. You want to make sure your canvas is taped down to your surface so that it's not moving around, because you could just start painting or making brush strokes and the next thing you know your canvas is sliding around and moving around, and that can really cause a lot of problems for your painting. So what I like to do is I always tape it down, and then here you just take your colors and you blend it right out. And that's all you have to do. Once you tape something down, no worries. You could even have larger amounts of tape on your canvas and it wouldn't even matter, because once you're done, you just take the paint, there's thick paint that we have on our canvas here. Take that thick paint and just thin it right on out, like that, right onto the area where the tape was. You're complete there. Same thing here. I just go right down to the bottom, and that's kind of a dark wash there, so we want to just go right dark with this, like that, because it's all dark, because we said this is very, very, very tall in the painting. So if you were to take this and reflect it down in the water, it goes all the way down off the page here. So actually that's all off the page. And then you can go back in and even fix up some highlights here if you want to, where the sky color would be. So the sky is here. The sky's a little bit over here more. If you can imagine, if we take like a brush or whatever and say, okay, where's the sky over here compared to this feature on this building with the spires here? Well, if we look at it here, we kind of see that we're still, if you look at it here and say, where is this reflection? We're still a little bit too wide this way. So you could take some of that sky color and just fix it up and just go there and just say, okay, we got to make that thinner, like that. And that looks much better. That's about where it is. Same thing here. It's a little bit thinner here. Maybe I went too far, no problem. Rinse off the brush, dry off the brush on a paper towel, napkin, tissue, whatever it is. Get some more of that dark, and just kind of add it over here. Just like that. Maybe it's a little more and we need to go like that. Maybe it's got to be a little darker here. Like that. Maybe we went too far to the right over here. No problem. Grab some more sky color and go over here. And that might look a little better, and it does. And then over here too, we went a little bit too far here. After that, a little bit of dark over here. So just remember, you're going to counter adjust and adjust, counter adjust as you go. You'll see over here, this is down here like that. Like that. And that is good. And then, oh, I can't forget over here. This is darker over here. Like that. And then you just go across like this. Maybe make a couple little lines like that. A couple like this. Like that. And then you have it. There you go. All right, so we are and again, if you need to, you can grab anything that you can think of, curtain rods, wood dowels, paintbrushes, whatever you have. If you need to add something, if you need to add some detail and you need a steadier brush, you can just use this. I use this wood dowel. I just rest it on the table and just do this. like that. If you need to tidy up a few lines. And there we go. We have it. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're painting along with me with oil paints. I'm hoping you'll subscribe on the right-hand side below. All subscribing does really is it just puts you in touch with me so that you don't lose track of our videos and what we're doing here. It just means the next time when I create a new video, you'll get a bit of a notice on YouTube. So the next time you open up YouTube, you'll see that there's a little bit of maybe some kind of notification for you when you get to YouTube and you open up YouTube. It'll say, oh, Chris has made a new video, a new oil painting video, and that's all it is. It just keeps you in touch with me. You won't get any emails, any text messages, phone calls, any silly nonsense like that. YouTube just wants you to basically know that there's a way for you to keep in touch with me week after week, month after month, and year after year, and that's just you hit subscribe and then you're locked in and you'll be at the right place at the right time each time we get together. And I'm making new oil painting videos every week or every other week. Depends on my schedule. I'm trying to get in one a week, but sometimes I might go one every 2 weeks. But we'll always be working here on my channel going forward. So please enjoy. Please keep coming back, having fun with us here. And again, we're going to be creating lots of paintings just like this. And we'll see you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching. And if you're brand new here and you haven't been here before, I really appreciate it. You're at the right place at the right time. And again, we're doing everything here, oil paintings on this channel. So buckle in, strap up, get ready. We're having lots of fun. And you'll see all of the details you're going to need for oil painting right here. Okay? All right, so we'll see you on the next video.